Welcome to the virtual lunch. Today is Friday, January 15th, and this is virtual lunch number 219. I am honored today that Gregg McConnell, the legal operations leader at Corteva Agriscience, is our guest. And this is, again, part of our continuing series on digital transformation, thanks to our friends at Onnit.
So I'm the legal operations leader for Corteva. I actually came in as the legal operations leader for Corteva, even though we weren't a company yet. So just over 2 years now. Before that, I was at a large global healthcare company, done legal operations, IT security, procurement, contract management. I've been in a whole bunch of phases that was really leading up to all the pieces that put together what is legal operations today. I was at JP Morgan Chase a few years back. We had the need for contract management. We didn't have a way of doing it. And I was in the mortgage division and we were trying to get it all together. And we literally built one with some collaboration with the IT and legal, and don't laugh, but it was in Lotus Notes. There weren't really contract management tools then. I've done IT, where I was vendor management, contract management, and really trying to find how do we manage these contracts, get what the attorneys need, but also what everybody else needs in financials and et cetera. Really rolled out a CLM at a Cardinal Health at one point. And that was probably the biggest push that took it into there. You know, it was that electronic signature started wrapping up under that. And I also managed some offshore legal services to speed up the procurement review process. And so that is really how it all got started. I think some days I have a massive headache because I think I've been pulled in so many different directions and thought processes, from a technology discussion with the IT team to financials and how they're being reviewed and managed. So you really do switch hats quite often. And it's really down to building a good relationship with people and having that partnership to pass the data back and forth. I used to get called the translator because for some reason, it seemed completely logical to me what the legal team wanted and what IT was saying, but the two of them don't speak the same language. I could sit in the same room and one of them would say something, the other one would look at me and go, I have no idea what they just said. It depends on how far they go into a deep discussion, but I can't program it, but I can tell you what they're trying to do. You know, I really associate a lot of it way back to the day of just using a database. You know, you had to get something quick and you were trying to do it and you're like, I don't want to have to keep repeating this in an Excel document. The idea of putting things into buckets, being able to have them relationally talk to each other. And that really is just what you're trying to do all the time. Corteva was part of the Dow-DuPont merger. So Dow and DuPont merged about 4 years ago, knowing that they were going to spin off into 3 companies 18 months later. And that's what I walked into. So there was still mergers going on. At the same time, there was divestiture going on. And Corteva made up of 3 different companies that were under all that umbrella. They all work different ways. So in the midst of that, we had to put in some new technology rather quickly. Some of them were short deadlines. Put in a legal matter management and e-billing system in the next 3 to 4 months and spec it all out. I'll give credit to the audit team. They were amazing with us because that was a huge undertaking. It's really, really around the training. We had tons of change going on at the same time, so I understood why people were very resistant. So they wanted to know that somebody knew what they were doing and they had their interest. They were getting their feedback. If you asked me of all the things we did, which one would we have done differently and better? Our document management. It didn't get the highest priority because we had a billing issue. We have to be able to pay our vendors and get everything done. And then we didn't have a ton of time to get our matter management system completely up and, you know, build out all those requirements the right way. We had to get it in place though, because we were being cut off from those other systems. That was probably the area I would tell we needed more change management in. We need to do better. It's 3 pieces. It's people, process, and technology always. We had the right technology. We just didn't have the time to optimize the process before we put it into a technology. That to me is always key. You've got to know how the process works and really look at that process and optimize it before you go throwing it into a technology, because maybe a technology isn't even needed. If it's the wrong answer and it's just a matter of just changing a process, I'm all for that. I think we've gone heavily techie over the last short period of time, even more so than before. A lot of it is driving back to the financials, making those recommendations and driving that efficiency that's really what the legal ops is transforming to. I mean, it already was somewhat, but now it is really just looking across the board and driving people's budgets to be better, helping them manage them, and really driving efficiencies throughout. I would tell you that was our biggest thing, is that they magically thought as soon as an application was there, it knew everything it needed to know. No one needed to do any work on it anymore. We built it as an analogy of a refrigerator. Attorneys are extremely smart people, but you have to bring it back to something that everybody's familiar with. Does the refrigerator fill itself? We broke it down to all those pieces and said, here's what's run and maintain. So it's got to get groceries. It's not going to cook them for you. It's not going to do all these things. All it's doing is this piece, and you've got to pay the bill and et cetera. And then, development, so that we could understand the different pieces. There's this total cost of ownership involved, and people have to do things to make that happen. I think the area you're going to see it change a little bit is the diversity trends. We're heavily involved in driving diversity, and how are we going to get that done with both our law firms and internal. Quite frankly, when we bid out stuff, we use automated bidding systems now. That's different. Now we're starting to look at bringing in like NAMWolf vendors and stuff to make sure that we're looking at a very diverse slate across everything. And that will probably be the area where we add some vendors and make sure that we're reading that. I actually have now put together what I think is a 3-year plan. So the big things that are on ours, contract automation. We're taking that off of our commercial attorneys, trying to automate some of that process, simplifying it, getting it out of paper. I think it's really setting expectations is what we're up to right now. Yes, we have to move rapidly, and we can bring parts of that rapidly in, but longer term, we're going to have to come and do more stuff. I broke them out into what I call projects and enhancements. Enhancements to me are something that our team can do. It's a simple change. Projects to me are massive, and we're going to spend a lot of time and money on, and we're probably bringing in third parties to help. That's how I've been breaking it down and just showing them the enhancements and then building out the budget. Surprisingly, they like where we're going. Now it's really getting to that entire legal leadership team and saying, here's what's slated for you for the next 3 years. Tell me what else you're thinking that I don't have on the roadmap. So I've set up meetings with all the direct legal leaders and talk through what do they need, where are their pain points. Because it's funny, if you ask them to innovate, like what do they want innovation? You don't always get an answer, but if you ask them where they have pain, oh, you'll get answers. Honestly, I try to start with the most difficult one. I've given you an example of the person that is super resistant, doesn't like anything change, but then we go and work with that person, because if we can get that person on board, I can get them all on board. It's been a lot of training for us. So doing the legal open offices, we send them communications with samples. We train their admins and the paralegals around them, because that tends to be more helpful. So that if we can't be there, that they're there. Like when I was in Indianapolis, I would swear there would be one person who would come find me once a week to ask me stuff, but I just made it completely open to them. They could come ask me any question. Taking them through it and getting them to do it is the most difficult. Finding a tool that's super intuitive is a super advantage. I loved that the guy spoke up and said, hey, when I put the billing system in, because he was a super proponent of the old system, that there was a team that just did things for him, and he just sent him an email, and that system always worked. It took a while to get that trust with him to say, oh, you actually do know more. It's really all the training. We post them on our document management system. It's open to them in NetDocs to just go pull up whatever they want for training. We've done it in snippet little videos. That's been helpful. So they only have to go find out one thing if nobody's around. And then they call me when when that doesn't work. We really had input from the legal leadership team that was pushing that we're going to use technologies. So now we do reports that show who's been in the system, when was the last time they used it, which seems like you're tattletaling, but it's really pushing that either they're not using it and adopting it, or maybe it's the wrong thing we have. We haven't found that problem yet, because everybody else loves it once they're in it in all the different systems, but we have started to track them that they're not using it, or they've gone and used another application outside of it, like they're storing it on their desktop every day. Yeah, the leaders are keeping them accountable. Like, why? Look, I see nobody's been in here. Now, some of them, it's valid. They're not really in it that often. I actually think it's thriving in the new environment, even more so because now they've become super dependent on not having, that book sitting on the shelf, or being able to just run in and interrupt somebody. They're trying some things on their own, and they want to make sure they can do it.
All right, awesome. Gregg McConnell, everybody.